Good evening. Madam City Clerk, can you call to order, please? On January 16th, the meeting of the Murrieta City Council is now being called to order.
I will call roll for determination of a quorum, Madam Mayor. Councilmember DeForest.
Here.
Councilmember Lavelle.
Here.
Councilmember Holliday.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Warren.
Here.
Mayor Stone.
Here.
Let the record reflect that all members are present.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Any public comments for closed session items only?
Seeing none.
Announcement of closed session items, please.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. As listed on the agenda, the City Council will meet in closed session on 11 items. CS1, Conference with Real Property Negotiator. City Council will conduct a closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8 to enable the City Council to consider negotiations and to give direction to its negotiators regarding that certain real property at the corner of Murrieta Hot Springs Road and Sparkman Court, Murrieta, APN 901-031-011 and 020, with the property owners. The city's real property negotiators being the city manager, assistant city manager, development services director, and city attorney, who will seek direction from the City Council regarding the price and terms for this property. The City Council will also meet in CS2 through CS11, Conference with Legal Counsel, Existing Litigation. City Council will conduct a closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1 to confer with legal counsel regarding 10 litigation cases to which the city is a party. The title of such litigations are as follows, and the case numbers are listed on the agenda, so I will not read those, but I will read the case. Public Employment Relations Board Unfair Practice Charge, Procco versus Murrieta, Southern California Edison versus California State Board of Equalization et al., Burrell versus City of Murrieta, City of San Diego et al. Versus Invitation Homes, City of Murrieta versus Campini, California Regional Water Quality Board, San Diego Region Order, Linton versus City of Murrieta, Machaca versus City of Murrieta, and Collier versus City of Murrieta. That concludes closed session items, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. With that, we are going to recess into closed session and we'll reconvene at 6 p.m. for our regular meeting. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to call this meeting to order. On behalf of the entire City Council, Mayor Pro Tem Warren, Council members Holliday, Lavelle, and DeForest, our City Manager Kim Summers, and the 429 employees, we want to welcome you to the very first Murrieta City Council for 2024. Madam City Attorney, would you please provide a report from closed session?
Thank you, Mayor. The City Council met in closed session on 2 items. The first was to confer with the real property negotiator pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8. In that item, the council was updated, no reportable action. The second item was to confer with legal counsel regarding all existing litigation involving the city. In that, the council was updated on a number of cases, and there's no reportable action. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam City Attorney. Madam City Clerk, would you please call for a roll call to determination of a quorum, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember DeForest.
Here.
Councilmember Lavelle.
Here.
Councilmember Holliday.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Warren.
Here.
Mayor Stone.
Present.
Let the record reflect that all members are present.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mayor Pro Tem Warren and remain standing for the invocation led by Pastor Phil Vadez from the Passion of Life Church.
Please join me by placing your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before I pray, I just want to thank you for this great invitation and just want to let you know that 10 years ago, we moved from El Paso, Texas to Murrieta, California. So I want to encourage you, not everybody's moving to Texas. Some people are moving here. Amen. You know, the Bible says that he crowns this year with goodness and that your paths drip with abundance. Thank you for this invitation because I believe the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Let's pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you for this great city of Murrieta. Your word says that you know the plans that you have for this city, plans to prosper it, not to harm it, plans to give us a hope and a great future. And Lord, I pray today that you perfect all of the things that concern this city and that you make all of the crooked ways straight. I thank you, everyone, for serving here today. Lord, I pray that you bless them. Father, I also pray that you would make a way where there seems to be no way. Lord, I pray for a divine protection over this city, that no weapon that is formed against it shall prosper, and that every tongue that has risen up against it in judgment shall fall, and that everything that we set our hands to do will prosper. Lord, I pray that you make Murrieta a city on a hill, a bright light for those around it, a beacon of joy, of peace, and of life. Lord, and I pray you speak to all of those that want to move out of Murrieta and tell them not to do it. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Pastor Valdez. We're going to move on to presentations. Western Riverside Council of Governments, IREN, Madam City Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have Casey Daly, who's up at the podium, Director of Energy and Environmental Programs.
Nice
with
to
W
see
Western.
you.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, City staff. It's nice to be here. My name is Casey Daly. I'm the Director of Energy and Environmental Programs for the Western Riverside Council of Governments, or WRCOG. And I'm very pleased tonight to be here to present on the Inland Regional Energy Network, or IREN for short. Next slide, please. So IREN is a collaborative effort amongst the three COGs that collectively represent all of Riverside and San Bernardino counties. So for San Bernardino, that's our friends, San Bernardino Council of Governments, or SBCTA, if you're Sandbag, if you're old school like me, our friends to the east, the Coachella Valley Association of Governments, as well as WRCOG. So all three of the councils of governments, collectively, we represent all 52 cities and both counties that make up inland Southern California. Next slide, please. So what are we here to do? We're here to help really support all things energy efficiency. Whether that's on the residential, the business side, job training, public facilities, we're here to be your local champion for energy efficiency. Next slide, please. So IREN is funded under the California Public Utilities Commission, or CPUC. We're what's called a program administrator. Our funding is through 2027. And then after that 2027 period is up, 2026, we'll submit a new business plan for another 4-year funding cycle, and then another 4-year funding cycle. And the reason it's like that is because these are all funded by us, ratepayers. So IREN is a publicly funded initiative. It's funded by ratepayers in California. And as we started putting this together, we said, you know what? Our region deserves its fair share from Sacramento. So we put this together and we got ourselves funded through 2027. We're funded to focus on 3 distinct areas: public sector, codes and standards, and workforce education and training. And so I'll talk a little bit about each one of those here in just a second. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, so public sector, I mentioned the 3 COGs. We are member-driven agencies. We are made up of the cities that make up this county and both counties, if you look at the inland Southern California region. So having a public sector component was pretty important for us. And so our objective here is to build capacity and knowledge to enable local governments to effectively leverage and engage in the energy efficiency landscape that's available. And I'll talk a little bit about some of these programs on the next slide. So we've set up the public sector program for a whole host of technical assistance. And so you can see on the screen here, this includes one-on-one support for local governments. This includes sending folks out to do field energy audits, all at no cost, because this is all paid for by, again, like I said, us. We also have programs in place to help you along the way to identify how much your energy consumption is taking place at all of your facilities. And then we'll take that, and then I'll get into that here in a second. I'll show you what that looks like. But you can see we're here to help secure funding, whether that's grant funding or help arrange financing. WRCOG, City of Murrieta is familiar with WRCOG's financing. we supported the city in its streetlight program. So similar kind of constructs around the ability to help finance large projects. Develop or enhance strategic energy plans, and then of course, connecting agencies to outside resources. How can we help bring more resources to our local governments? That's a major objective for us. Next slide, please. So one of the first deliverables coming out of the public sector piece is this energy resilience roadmap. And what this is intended to do to help support city staff to give them a visual representation of how much the city is spending in electricity and natural gas and at what facilities. And you can see here, this is just a city of Iron to give an example, but this is what it will look like. And so the city of Murrieta will have one of these that will then help city staff inform where to make investments, where you think you might be able to save money, and Iron will be there to help along the way. Next slide, please. So one of the things that's super cool for a nerd like me is this building upgrade concierge. And so this is all data everything, because data drives all of the decision making. If we don't know how much energy you're spending and how much money you're spending, then how are you going to make an informed decision as to what makes the most sense to put your dollars if you don't have the data to see this facility or that facility is what's costing you the most? So Buck, our friendly building upgrade concierge, is a software platform that's made available to all member agencies of IREN, including the City of Murrieta. And in working with city staff, along with our friends at the Southern California Edison and the gas company, we go through a process of requesting utility data. And as we get that utility data, we can incorporate it into the system. So this becomes the dashboard for your city staff to be able to see where energy is being spent. You can kind of see the example here, shows you the size of the building type, annual KWH, a benchmark. We got all sorts of really cool tools in there to really help guide decision making. Next slide, please. And so normalized metered energy consumption, you don't need to know that. NMAC, you also don't need to know that. This is the financial incentive. This is the rebates that IREN will be able to offer the city as the city goes through and does some of those projects that we just talked about. So as we identify in the roadmap, here are the projects, and the city says, hey, we want to go after these, and then we work with you, you get the project underway, you do the audit, you get the project done. We're going to measure how much energy you're anticipating to save, and then there's a dollar amount rebate that'll come along with that. So much like, again, with the streetlight program, we were able to help secure, gosh, I don't remember, it was a good chunk of money in rebates from Edison to go back to the city. It works in the same way, except this would be a direct rebate from IREN back to the city as you complete these energy efficiency projects. Okay, next slide. I'm happy to answer any questions as we go along. There's a lot here, and I want to get to the stuff that's specific to Murrieta, which is at the end. So our next program is Codes and Standards. Codes and Standards is really all about helping support compliance with the state building codes, particularly Title 24. Next slide, please. Hey, there it is. So Title 24, this is the part of the building code that gets updated every 3 years. It's the thing that your building officials probably, they look forward to the most. I'm kidding about that. And the building community wants to get all their plans in before the new code changes, right? But be that as it may, it always gets ratcheted up every 3 years. And so the Codes and Standards program exists not only to support city staff, building staff, but also on the private sector. Your building, the folks in the building community that are actually having to develop plans that are in compliance with Title 24. And so we, let's see, next slide, please. So this is, I got a little ahead of myself, but this is how some of the ways that our workshops and trainings are intended to help. Next slide, please. So we have a couple of upcoming trainings. Accessory dwelling units, solar PV and battery standards. Those are coming up, you can see them there. I should market ourselves, iren.gov. That's the place to go for all your iren.gov needs. iren.gov/calendar is the calendar. We have all of that stuff up and running. And these are all virtual trainings. And for those that are interested, a lot of the trainings do offer continuing education credits. So it's not just a willy-nilly thing. There's actual CEs that go along with it. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so workforce education and training. This is the one that I get excited about because this is the closest to economic development without actually being economic development. And workforce development is one of those things where rising tides lift all ships. So So our workforce program is really geared to help support an emerging workforce within the inland region in jobs that are coming, whether that's solar installation to microgrid systems connections to HVAC repair and everything in between. We need a trained workforce, and we know that our region needs good-paying jobs for those that live in the region. So one of the first initiatives that we have, actually, next slide, please. So this is the objective here. In fact, today, we had our IRON Executive Committee meeting, and we awarded 3 contracts specifically for workforce to start doing a clean energy workforce market assessment to understand kind of what's out there already in the region, partnering with what's called the Inland Empire Desert Regional Consortium, which is all 12 of the community colleges that are in Riverside and San Marino County, to help understand what training programs are already out there and how IRON can engage and support and help expand those and maybe get them offered where they're not already offered. Next slide, please. So, the fellowship program. If you're familiar with WRCOG, WRCOG has had a fellowship program for many years. Everybody seems to like it. And so we decided to take the fellowship concept and model and just scale it. And so we partnered with a group called Civic Spark. Civic Spark is a wing of Civic Well, if some of you know who that is. But they operate an AmeriCorps fellowship program all around California. Very good program. And so we partnered with them to fund 27 fellows every year in the public agencies of Riverside and San Marino County. So we have 27 fellows. And why that number? Well, I said before, there are 52 cities and 2 counties, which gets us to 54. 54 divided by 2 is 27. So this way it guarantees that every other year a jurisdiction will have the ability to have a fellow, and those fellows will work on IRON projects that are intended to help benefit the city. Because again, this is all workforce. The idea is that if they do good for you, maybe you can find some dollars to hire them on so they can help doing good for you. So that's the fellowship program. We're really excited about that. And next slide, please. Okay, cool. All right. So, Murrieta, as always, you all are doing very well. So, next slide, please. So I asked the team to put together kind of where we are with the city. So we've conducted the public sector kickoff meeting, which is great. That happened back in August. We've received the energy data from gas company in Edison, which is congratulations. That's a big deal. So now we're in the process of developing that energy resilience roadmap that I showed you earlier, and in the process of inputting the Buck software data so that you will have all of that wonderful data and information, and then we can send some folks out and start engaging with your staff on projects. And then opportunities here. The fellowship is going to be an opportunity for you to host a fellow if you'd like this fall. And then one of the offerings that IRON has made available for all of the cities is membership to an organization called Local Government Sustainable Energy Coalition, or LGSEC. It's a statewide nonprofit. They're all the energy nerds up and down the state that do engage with the CEC and the Energy and the Public Utilities Commission and engaging all the regulatory stuff. So the super smart people, they dumb it down for people like me, which is great. And as I've gone to some of these, there's zero representation from the Inland Empire. So I said, you know what, why don't we just make a thing where we'll get more representation from the Inland Empire? Because this is one of those groups where if there are conversations to be had at a state level with respect to energy policy, this is one of those groups that is one of those voices. So if we can have more involvement and engagement from inland cities in Southern California to engage in this group, that can help us have a better, stronger collective voice statewide. With that, next slide, please. I think that concludes my presentation. Madam Mayor, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Daly, for your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, we're going to move on to the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Seeing none, Madam Mayor.
Great. Call for a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and please vote.
There we go. Motion carries unanimously, 5-0.
Thank you. We're going to move on to our administrative updates. Madam City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We're going to have 3 brief employee updates. The first one is going to be given by our Development Services Director, David Chantrons.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I wanted to give you an update on what's been going on over at the Hot Springs. As you know, there's a major renovation that's happening. Last month, the Hot Springs had a convention, if you will, of other hot spring resort operators. They had about 200 or 300 people on the property. Over the past 4 months, there was a huge crunch to get the property ready to have guests guests coming to the property. There were rooms that had to get ready, facilities for those guests. And so for about the last 4 months, you had staff from the building department, planning, fire, and engineering really striving to help them hit their target. We had staff working overtime to make sure that rooms were being inspected, and happy to report that they did hold their event. There were some minor glitches here and there, but staff was there to basically ensure that any services that the city needed provided were available. So they are now back to, now that the event has concluded, they're back to their public opening and making progress towards that. We continue to meet with them regularly and offer whatever inspections they need. And there's a very strong coordination between our staff and the Hot Springs staff. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, but we're looking forward to the public opening in February.
Right. Are there any questions? Okay. Thank you.
And David's being modest. We had staff there over the weekend, overnight, on Sundays. They really had a great partnership with us, so I'd like to thank staff as well for going above and beyond. Next, I'd like to have our library manager, Melvin Rosales, come up, and he's going to talk to you about some of the amazing grants that the library's been getting.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and City Council members, fellow city staff, and members of the public. Again, my name is Melvin Rosales. I'm the library manager for the Murrieta Public Library, and I'm going to give a brief update on the grants that we're working on. First off is our library expansion grant. I'm sure everybody has heard of it, but if members of the public are unaware, it's the expansion of our children's area along with the construction of an additional storytime room, which hopefully will get us to a little under 5,000 square feet of expansion. We received $1.5 million from the California State Library for the Building Forward grant, and the city is matching 50% of that with library diff funds. So at this point, the design firm is preparing schematic design, and they're going to go into in-depth cost analysis. Marketing materials and the draft web page for the project has been created. And then last but not least, regarding the expansion, the Murrieta Public Library Foundation is throwing a golf tournament for fundraising on May 13th. So if any of you golf, you're more than welcome to attend. We'll have sign-up sheets at the library, and they will send out an email. Another grant that we have active right now is the Community Improvement Designation Fund Grant, the SID grant, from Riverside 3rd District Supervisor Chuck Washington. This is for $25,000 to purchase furniture for the interior of the expansion, and we're planning to purchase a family, parent, and toddler workstation along with an interactive mobile play exhibit. The next grant that we are currently actively working on is our Zip Books grant. This is our 6th year actually receiving this grant from the California State Library. It funds $26,000 of patron-driven collection development. And what I mean by patron-driven is that patrons can order books that we do not have in our library. It gets shipped directly to their home. Then when they are done, they return it and we catalog it and we add it to the library collection. So it's a great program. If you haven't done it, the order form is on our website. Next grant we have active is our Park Pass grant. Now this is for $35,000 for outdoor learning stations to promote our State Park Pass program. So if you're not aware of our State Park Pass program, we have State Park Passes that are available for checkout. They're placards you put onto your car vehicle, and you're allowed to just go in without having to pay the parking fee. So this grant is in promotion of that program, so it's hoping to get kids interested in going outside and doing those type of activities. Next grant that we're working on is our demonstration garden grant. So this is a grant currently from Western Municipal Water District. This is for a reimbursement grant for up to $25,000 to provide additional improvements to our pollinator demonstration garden that is on the side towards Town Square Park. Now this is gonna purchase interpretive signage, stone benches, and a water feature. So. Next grant is eBooks for All. This provides $40,000 for ebook and e-audiobook funding through the Palace Project app with a $5,000 match from the library's collection development budget. Next one that we just were awarded, but the amount is still pending, is Lunch at the Library. This typically funds libraries as summer meal sites for children to provide them free meals throughout the summer. However, we're gonna use this money to fund pop-up programming at the Murrieta Valley Unified School District's site at Murrieta Elementary this coming summer. And then last but not least, we do have an active application for the Inspiration Grant, which if we are to receive it, we will receive $20,000 to fund the expansion of our Library for All programming. And the Library for All programming is programming for adults with disabilities, but we are going to expand that for teens and children. So those are the grants that we're currently working on. We could not do it with the amazing, fantastic library staff. They're so dedicated and passionate for serving the community. So I really would like to give them a shout out and thank them for their hard work. So that concludes my update, and thank you for your time and attention, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Okay.
I would just like to say thank you for all your hard work and dedication to our library and moving our library to the next level. So thank you so much.
Thank you for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. And our library staff is amazing, but they also have some great leadership over there, so thank you. And last, but certainly not least, I've asked Christina Davies, she's our acting public information officer, to come up and give you a brief update on some city news and any events that we have coming up.
Perfect, thank you. So good evening, Mayor, Council, and of course, the City of Murrieta. I am here to just give some updates on fun things that are happening throughout the city. As Kim's, our manager, mentioned, I am Christina Davies, the Acting Public Information Officer. So first, a couple events I just want to mention. Coffee with the City, that is happening on January 23rd, and this is just the chance for public to come out and of course ask our city leaders some of the most pressing questions, and that is actually at the Mix, or the Murrieta Innovation Center, and I have the address up on there for anyone who is watching this or seeing this. The next event is happening on Saturday, January 27th, and that's from 8 to noon. It's our waste drop-off and shredding event. If you do come, please do not forget to bring a valid ID and that bill from Waste Management. And on Facebook, I have all the information you'll need for what is accepted and not accepted at this event. The next one is Murrieta Market Night, and that happens on the first and third Thursday of every month. So the next one is coming up, and that's from 5 to 9. Location is on Washington Avenue in downtown Murrieta. And then can't leave without giving out a little shout out to our library and all the events that they have going on. These two that I have up here, just a fraction of the events that are happening. So people who have little kiddos, on Wednesdays, they do toddler mornings. And then we have Murrieta Kids Grow Club that is happening on January 31st. Some news, I know that David mentioned Murrieta Hot Springs Resort is opening up. Of course, that is a very exciting moment to see in Murrieta, and passes and rooms are already available for purchase. And we are a very connected community. I cannot leave without encouraging everyone, especially those who may be watching online, to go check out murrietaca.gov/connect, because there you will find any way to connect with us. So that's Facebook, Instagram, so all of social media. And then you can sign up for our e-newsletter, and we also have our Murrieta magazine on there. that is my update. Any questions?
Any questions?
Okay,
Perfect.
thank you, and that concludes my announcements.
Colleagues and staff and guests, as your 2024 mayor, in my discussion with our city manager, and just want to say thank you so much for hearing me. What you witnessed tonight was just another layer of communication from the city to the public, and I want to thank staff for your presentation, and I also want to thank our city manager for accommodating my request. We're going to move on to governing body commission committee board reports, and we're going to start with Councilmember DeForest.
All right, thank you so much, Mayor Stone. I have a presentation for the city of Murrieta. I just wanted to take a few minutes. Thank you for accommodating me this evening. I commissioned this last year while I was mayor, and it took a little bit longer to get made, but it is made, and here it is. So I thought it was absolutely beautiful, incorporating two things that we hold very dear and keep us safe in a beautiful community is our police and fire. So this flag represents that. We commissioned it after the candlelight vigil that Murrieta residents came out for Darnell Calhoun, which just had his one-year passing event on the 13th. We will never forget him, and the community came out in force. And I can't tell you how many times my husband and I have stood on the side of the road, whether we're holding a red line flag or a blue line flag, and I know our community stands with our public safety. So, my husband and I present this to the city of Murrieta, hoping it will be placed somewhere that while residents walk in and out, they'll be able to see this beautiful flag and remember the service that our first responders do for us, running to danger, not away. So thank you all of our first responders that are here and fellow first responders as well. Thank you, Madam Mayor, for allowing me a few extra minutes.
Councilmember DeForest, that was beautiful. Councilmember Holliday.
Find my button.
You know what? Did I go out? I went out of order, didn't I? My apologies. Let me go back. Councilmember LaBelle.
I have no governing body updates at this time. And there's that.
Okay.
So glad.
Councilmember Holliday.
So glad we circled back to you. I represent Murrieta at the Riverside Conservation Authority. A lot of things happening there, as staff is well aware that dealing with the wildlife agencies and the RCA has been challenging for the city. I'm doing everything I can to make sure Murrieta's interests are represented and we get past some of those hurdles. So I appreciate staff doing all the work they've done with that agency. And I also represent Murrieta at the Western Riverside Council of Governments Strategic Planning Session, which is kind of setting the tone for what WRCOG is going to be looking at in this coming year. It was a well-attended meeting. The one a year ago was attended by 6 cities. This one is attended by 27, 28. So they actually had a quorum and could have a real meeting. So, and a lot of good stuff, a lot of good input from the various different cities, and they all work really well together. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilmember Holliday. Mayor Pro Tem Warren.
Thank you, Mayor Stone. On January the 10th, I started out the new year with an RCTC commission meeting. Drove all the way to Riverside, got there at 9:25, left at 9:37.
Oh.
Very quick meeting. There's no reportable action. Also, I attended, along with my fellow colleagues, our 2024 Murrieta City Council Goal Setting Workshop. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And as far as myself, I have nothing to report at this time. Moving on to public comments. This is for non-agenda items. Madam City Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Any person may address the governing bodies on any subject pertaining to city business. Normally, no action may be considered or taken by the governing bodies on any matter not listed on the agenda. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes, please. Amy Edgeworth.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Murrieta City Council. I'm Amy Edgeworth, better known as Pearl or the Train Lady. And like a good TV series, I'm back with yet another riveting season of binge-worthy material. And you'd best stay tuned because tonight's episode is inspired by a legacy of resilience and unwavering commitment to our community. A tale of two trailblazing women and the lessons they've taught me on the power of persistence and perseverance. As a staunch advocate for women and infant health, Elena Taggart Meadow faced skepticism and laughter when she proposed inventing a breast pump that wasn't painful. But she forged ahead, filed patents, learned German, and chartered international business deals. When next she wanted to compensate lactating women for their breast milk donations, again, many doubted her, and the idea even upset some people. Yet she persisted. And her vision and determination reshaped the conversation around women's health and human donor milk. When Meadow, who I usually just call Mom, alongside the formidable Joan Sparkman, advocated for Murrieta's first rape crisis center, they raised eyebrows and once again met unexpected resistance. Critics in our community questioned the need for such services. But together, they persevered. They were just like, hold my coffee, we got this. And now we can't imagine our community without these essential programs or the exhaustive efforts of individuals like these two inspiring women. But still, what does any of this have to do with the train, you ask? Literally everything is my answer. So it's the audacity to tell the difficult stories, to rise against the odds, and to make impactful changes even when their importance isn't immediately recognized. This project, my friends, is about bringing that same unstoppable spirit to the forefront and recognizing the importance of spaces that at first people might question, but soon they become indispensable parts of our community in important and unique ways. And Pearl is here to do just that, to breathe new life into the old train depot site, transforming it into a you didn't know how much you needed it till it's here cultural arts space. And I know what you're thinking, a train, really, Amy? Why not just open another car wash? But hear me out, like those before me, I haven't met a solution that didn't start with a problem. So, council members, city manager, and all the powers that be, hear my persistent and sincere plea. What can we do to make things official, to create a partnership that will mark the beginning of a 2-year plan to develop and open a train car art center to the public and create a new chapter in our history? To quote the trailblazing Maya Angelou, if you're always trying to be normal, you will never know how amazing you can be. Let's embrace our amazing potential, Murrieta. Thank you.
Thank you.
Faye Wands.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Faye Wands, and next month will mark my 26th year of living in Murrieta. At the last council meeting, a private investigator read a document from some cowardly residents who would not want to be identified. They presented a letter outlining their concerns. I found it very interesting that they would not come forward themselves, but had someone else read what they didn't have the nerve to do. The cowardly residents making accusations with no proof that I could see after reading the letter. The investigator said 3 times the letter was not necessarily her views, but those of her clients, and that she had not participated in any investigation. In the document at the bottom of page 3, she stated it doesn't matter who the disgruntled people were. I couldn't believe she said this. There's a little thing called the Constitution of the United States of America, and the 6th Amendment states that the accused have the right to know who their accusers are. How is the public going to react and trust these cowards when they don't have the guts to make their own accusations openly? On the last part of page 6 and 7, the last part of page 6 and the first part of page 7, it sounded to me as if a lawyer was giving a summation in court. This is not a court of law, but a city council meeting. We all have a right to our own opinion, and these are mine. But that's just what they are, opinions.
Ashley Hutchinson.
Hi, good evening. I am a homeowner near Murrieta Valley High School. The community was developed 3 years ago. At the time, KB had told the homeowners that there was nothing we could do to privately fence off the community because they believed that the gates might impede traffic turning into Washington. And so I wanted to bring that to your attention to find out maybe more about that, because KB no longer has any stakehold on our HOA board. And since the school has been back from winter break, the traffic at the corner of Petra and Washington extending to Nutmeg is a nightmare. I've watched more kids almost be hit and more parents using our community as a private turnout. And I'm kind of at a point where I won't even let my 9-year-old and my neighbor's kids play together out front because of how bad it is. So the speeding, using the community as a turnout, kind of the flow of traffic and pedestrian traffic is pretty problematic. I'd really like to see some more maybe police intervention on Washington, especially during drop-off and afternoon, because I'm telling you now, it's not a matter of if, but when somebody gets hit and killed right there. And Nutmeg and Washington, as you all know, has been pretty problematic anyway. And I'm really happy to see more police on Nutmeg, but we really need to see more police intervention around the school, and hopefully maybe even parked around the communities there on Washington to ticket and kind of put some fear into the parents that are using the community as, unfortunately, a speed trap. So KB, the HOA management company, they've all suggested that homeowners come to more city council meetings to talk about this because, of course, they want nothing to do with it anymore. They don't want the blood on their hands for how they developed the community too, which was also kind of problematic. So thank you.
Mrs. Hutchinson, Mr. Holler, can you maybe talk with her in the foyer a little bit? Thank you.
Andrew Robel.
Mr. Roba, please come up to the podium here. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Andrew Roble. I'm here on behalf of the family of Rosie Diaz, who sadly passed away January 4th, 2024, after being struck by a vehicle while doing what she loved, running. The tragic accident happened on the intersection of Washington and Nutmeg in the city of Murrieta. I'm here tonight on behalf of our family to thank the first responders who were on scene with great response times, and we especially give thanks to Mayor Stone for her compassion, her love for the community, and her leadership. Mayor Stone, you're with us from the very beginning. After the tragedy, you were always a call or text away and didn't hesitate to respond. You are the true definition of leadership, and we can't thank you enough for everything that you have done for our family, and especially for the beautiful flowers that you sent for Rosie on the day we laid her to rest. Rosie loved pink. In fact, family and friends wore pink and purple to honor Rosie's favorite colors. Mayor Stone and I had a brief conversation over the phone regarding bringing some safety measures to the area where Rosie was killed. I also had a conversation with Senator Sarato's office and Assemblywoman Sanchez, who are willing to help honor Rosie by finding grants to help support the city of Murrieta as we work together to bring safety measures to the community and make this beautiful community even safer, especially for pedestrians who use this route every day. As an elected delegate of Assembly 56, I look forward to working with Mayor Stone, council members, and city staff on these public safety efforts to honor Rosie. I'm not sure if you guys have any programs where you plant trees or park benches, but we definitely look forward to working with all of you and see what we can do. Thank you, guys.
Mr. Robles, on behalf of the entire city council, we just want to pay our respect to you and your family.
Thank you.
And tonight we'll be adjourning in Rosie's honor.
We appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay. We'll move on to the consent calendar, approval of items 1 through 5. Items on the consent calendar are considered routine and may be enacted by one motion and vote. There'll be no discussion of these items unless specific items are removed from the consent calendar for a separate motion. Are there any requests from the City Council to pull any consent calendar items for discussion or abstain from voting? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, are there any members of the public requesting to speak on a consent calendar item?
Seeing none.
Let's call for a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar. I see a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion carries unanimously, 5-0.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. We're going to move on to public hearing. The formation of landscaping and lighting district number 31 Willow Springs public hearing. Are there any members of the City Council that wishes to abstain or recuse themselves from this item? Seeing none, we will move on to staff presentation.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and City Council. My name is Leah Kolick. I am the Parks and Community Services Manager. The item before you relates to the formation of this 31st Landscape and Lighting District for the City of Murrieta. Landscape and lighting districts in general provide for the costs and expenses required to maintain the common areas and street lighting dedicated to the Community Services District for ongoing maintenance. This landscape lighting district is for the streetscape frontage for Willow Springs Track, located on the northwest corner, State Highway 79, also known as Winchester Road, and Lazy Hawk Road. It will encompass approximately 1.5 acres of landscape in front of the track, as well as 3 street lights, and should cost around $64,500 a year in annual maintenance. The 283 single-family homes and about 9.5 acres of commercial parcels that comprise this LLD will contribute to the annual assessments associated with this maintenance district and provide for a not-to-exceed annual inflator of 3% applied to future maximum rates. Per the landscape maintenance agreement with Caltrans approved by Council last February, the city has an obligation to maintain this road right-of-way improvements moving forward. The best way to fund the maintenance of this area is by the formation of a landscape lighting district. The intent meeting took place on November 7th, 2023, and Council recommended no changes to the engineer's report. The meeting this evening is the public hearing for the formation of this district, where shortly the city clerk will open and tally the ballots received back from the property owners. If a majority of the ballots returned is not in opposition to the annexation, then it is the recommendation of staff to order the formation of LLD 31 and concurrently annex it into the Consolidated Landscape and Lighting District, confirm the diagram and assessment, and order the levy of assessments. That concludes my report. I'm available for questions. I also have with me this evening representatives from Wildan Financial, Michelle Lassie and Daniel Louie. Should you have questions regarding the balloting, noticing, or other particulars relating to the formation process?
Mrs. Kolick, thank you so much for your presentation. Are there any council member questions? Councilmember Holliday.
Thank you for that presentation. I had a couple questions regarding the inflator. So during a year that, say, inflation was 1.5%, I assume the assessment would go up by 1.5%?
That's correct.
And in a year that inflation exceeds 3%, the inflator would go up by 3%.
A maximum of 3%, yes.
And what happens to the balance of those costs?
So I believe in the formation, the compilation and formation of this landscape lighting district, that staff has estimated the anticipated expenses for the ongoing maintenance, and it also allows for a moderate growth of reserves. The LLD uses the inflator only if needed, and it does not, as Councilmember Holliday, you pointed out, doesn't necessarily need to be the entire 3%. It can be less than that. We want to keep a nice reserve balance between 30 to 50% of our operating costs, as well as fund the expenses in each year's operating budget. That is our revenue goal. So staff figures out what's needed based on the square footage that is to be dedicated for the landscape lighting district, and we include in that the ability to form a reserve, just like any of our other funds that we have. So we believe we have targeted that 30 to 50% operating budget reserve, as well as the ability to pay for the operating expenses for the landscape lighting district.
Thank you for that. And so with those reserves, we had a year that exceeded the 3% in cost. We could use the reserves to recover that and use future years' increases to refill the reserves.
Absolutely.
And the reason that the reserves and escalator are so important is because we have several landscape and lighting districts that are at a negative operating cost to the city currently.
There are a couple, yes, 2 to 3. Out of the 31, those were the earlier landscape lighting districts that the city formed, and I believe we were getting our feet on the ground, if you will.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Great. Seeing no council member questions, thank you so much. This is the time and place for the public hearing on the formation of the Landscaping and Lighting District Number 31 Willow Springs. I will now open the public hearing. Has the city clerk received any written correspondence on this matter?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have not received any written correspondence.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Are there any public testimonies on this item?
We do not have any public testimony.
Great. Any member of the public who wishes to submit their ballot, please submit it to the city clerk immediately. I'll close the public hearing.
Just a moment as we tabulate the results.
One yes. 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 And one yes. Can you tabulate that for me? How many? How many? We have a majority of 20 yeses.
Great. I will now close the public hearing. We'll move on to city council discussion. I see none. Call for a motion and a second, please. We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion carries unanimously, 5-0.
Thank you. We'll move on to item number 7, the continuation of the urgency ordinance pursuant to the California Government Code Section 65858, prohibiting the establishment of a medical cannabis delivery businesses for an additional 45 days to include an exemption from the California Environmental Quality Act. Hello, Mr. Chancharansu. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening again. So if you recall at your council meeting in December, the City Council enacted an initial 45-day temporary moratorium on the establishment of medical marijuana dispensaries or facilities and mobile medical marijuana dispensaries within city limits. So since the adoption of the temporary moratorium, staff presented to the Planning Commission a draft ordinance which contained the standards and operational requirements for such businesses. The Planning Commission will be, has recommended approval of that ordinance. However, before the item can become before you through the public hearing process, there's a need to extend the temporary moratorium so that we can complete the public hearing. Although the request is for 10 months and 15 days, which is what essentially state law requires moratorium to be on upon the first extension rather, we can terminate the moratorium early once the ordinance is adopted and its provisions are effective. So for that reason, we're asking you for an extension for the stated time, and that concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Council members, are any questions for staff? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing. Madam City Clerk? Is there any public testimony regarding this item?
We do not have any public testimony.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Council discussion? Seeing none, we will call for a motion and a second, please. Go for the vote.
Motion carries unanimously, 5-0.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Clerk, did you want me to make this announcement?
Yeah, if I may, there was a miscount. It was 22 majority, not 20. I misspoke, actually.
That's fine. Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you.
I will move on to discussion. Item number 8, City Council subcommittees and appointment of city-affiliated boards and commissions. Do we have a staff report?
You do. It is me, Madam Mayor. Is it okay if I stay seated here?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, so this is the yearly appointments of subcommittees and city-affiliated committees. So this agenda report that was provided gives each of you the committee's board's purpose and current membership. Currently, we have 3 active city council subcommittees, and we have 11 city-affiliated agencies that Murrieta participates in. So today, what I'm going to have you do is first, we're going to review the current city council subcommittees. That shouldn't take that long, being that there's only 3. And then we'll take a look at the city-affiliated organizations just for your reference. And once this has been reviewed, then I will ask you all to participate in a discussion and so we can appoint. So it will be interactive. As you express interest, we'll be memorializing it up here publicly, and then we can confirm prior to voting, if that is at the pleasure of the council, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Okay. So the next slide is just an ad hoc versus standing. I actually went over this last year with this very same council, so I'm not going to go into it anymore. It's really just here as a reference for you and members of the public. As you know, ad hoc and standing committees are a subsidiary body of the legislative body. And as I mentioned, there were 3 active city council subcommittees. So I have 2 that are ad hoc, and we have 1 that is a standing. So the first city council subcommittee we're going to review is the Commission Appointments Subcommittee. So the Commission Appointments Subcommittee, their purpose is to assist and interview with the commission's committee's interview process, such as the Planning Commission. The subcommittee provides recommendations to the city council, who then makes the final appointments. It was established in 2019, and commission appointments occur in correlation to your our local election, except for any unscheduled vacancies. So is there any interest or any discussion that needs to be had about the Commission Appointments Subcommittee? We're not appointing yet. We are just talking about the composition and its purpose. Seeing none, Madam Mayor?
Seeing none.
Okay. So the next subcommittee is going to be the Homeless Services Subcommittee. So this is to structure the Riverside Homeless Alliance and advocate for the city of Murrieta for a behavioral health campus. It was established in 2022. In January of last year, the city council actually added a mental health component to the existing purpose with the possibility to bring back an updated purpose. However, the subcommittee recommended and the council approved an agreement with Care Solace to coordinate mental health services, which completed that task. Therefore, the purpose remains as is. So at this point, is there any interest or discussion this council would like to have on this specific subcommittee?
Seeing none.
Great. And the last subcommittee we're going to talk about is a legislative work group subcommittee. It works with the city manager, of course, to review and revise the legislative platform, meet with area legislatures, evaluate lobbyists, and annually travel to Sacramento and Washington, D.C. It was established in 2008. In 2022, the prior council updated the appointments to a quarterly rotation. That was a challenge for some. So last year, this council updated the appointments to 2 standing members, one of which is the mayor. So is there any interest or any discussion that the council would like to have on this specific subcommittee?
Yes, Madam City Clerk, being that the quarterly assignment was a little challenging, I'd like to recommend 2 seats. It'll be for the first 6 months, from January to June and from July to December. So we'll be appointing 2 council members along with the mayor. Yes, ma'am.
But if you're traveling to Sacramento, Washington once per year, how's that going to work?
Well, so depending on when that is scheduled, the former mayor, Dr. Lisa DeForest, she's been to DC and she's been to Sacramento. I think it's really important that the other fellow colleagues have an opportunity to lobby and be part of the legislative workshop committee. I think it's really important as we move Murrieta forward that all council members have an opportunity to be part of this subcommittee.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor. Don't you think that relationship building is what we did while we were in Washington and Sacramento? Do you think that concurrent relationship building by you going as well as our new mayor, but don't you think that having a council person that has been there before also has established relationships? I know I'm still in contact with 6 people that we met with, including Keller Road, with our 2 Murrieta residences. So I would say your idea of half and half is great because I think it moves it off, but I don't think that I should be alienated because I'd been before.
I think it's a great opportunity. Like I said, you know, we're going to have a new mayor, we're going to have a new mayor pro tem, and I think it's really important that everybody have an opportunity to lobby and also build relationships. It's for a strong council. If two other participate in this, it just makes our council very strong when it comes to the legislative goals and objectives that we have. If you're not available, or if I'm not available, I think it's really important that everybody has that experience.
Madam Mayor, if I could maybe make a suggestion. So the quarterly rotation did prove to be quite challenging because relationships are developed really over the course of the year. Maybe an alternative would be to have two council people who focused on the state lobbying and then two that focused on federal, or maybe we could divide it up that way, because once you get 6 months, into that relationship building, then to switch, it did create a bit of a problem. Right. So you might want to consider
I
that
like
as a
that
council.
suggestion. I like that suggestion.
Madam Mayor, if I could also add, we have to be careful about the Brown Act with things. Yes. If you're talking with the person that you're working with the lobbying, and then you switch that person out with someone else, and then they start talking with you about things, there could be problems under the Brown Act.
Sure, I understand.
And I do see the advantage or benefit from having a single person continue relationships as well.
Yes.
I'd be curious as to my other colleagues if they're interested in being on that committee.
Are you asking if we want to go to Sacramento?
Yeah, or Washington.
I like the idea of everyone getting kind of a little bit exposed to whatever the calling would be for. I don't have a preference or a recommendation for how that's set up, but I do like Kim's idea.
I agree. When you foster such relationships and then have them kind of like separated, I think that does cause a little bit of problem, a reintroduction, a new learning curve. I think having consistent continuity is very important for the movement and forward progress of our city. So I almost would like to see you and Councilmember DeForest be our main, and then pick two alternates if you cannot attend, at least during the first 6 months, so that you guys continue that continuity, and then allow another person to come in and learn from that experience. That's just a concept.
But as the city attorney talked about, is a Brown Act.
So, but if you went two different people, that would also be a Brown Act too, correct? So it would be best to just pick two people to serve the full year?
You can do two people for DC and two people for Sacramento.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
But the two people, though, we have that one Brown Act issue, because if we were talking about something that was occurring in DC that is also happening on the state level, you can see how that Brown Act could come. So if it was you, Ronna, and I, for example, and you went to the state, and then you and I went to the feds, and that would still be a Brown Act issue. So
It's going to come before the council for a vote. You couldn't both be saying how you're going to vote on certain things, or that you. Right. It's complicated. It depends on what the issues are. Yeah.
I would personally love to see one more year of moving forward. Who knows if we'll even have to go to Washington or Sacramento this year. Maybe the lobbying efforts that the mayor and I did last year will come to fruition, and a lot of things will come forward from that. So I would love to go again. I know that I led the cause and was very vocal in all of our meetings, and did my due diligence and homework, and I would do it again.
Ms. City Attorney, is there any way to do or slice this pie with either Kim or Lori's recommendation with being as safe as possible of the Brown Act considerations? Like, how would you frame that?
I mean, you could definitely follow the city manager's recommendation and just say, if it's something that could be at both, the federal, for example, is that team would have those topics when there's overlap. Could you say that one more time? So you could have two different teams, but if it's a situation like Keller Road that might be both, anything that overlaps defaults to the federal team.
What about if we utilize our mayor pro tem? Because that would eliminate our Brown Act. So Mayor Pro Tem and Mayor would go say to the feds, and Mayor Pro Tem would do our state. And then we could have actually 4 people utilizing lobbying.
If that's what the council wanted to do, you could do that.
4 exposures.
That would be 4 exposures, and then that would allow, you know, our next mayor to actually be privy of how the negotiations move forward.
Yeah, so at any level, you'd have 4 people getting some exposure to that process, whether it be federal or state.
I think it's important to have at least one seasoned council member in DC and in Sacramento. So I think that that would be important.
I agree. Does her recommendation do that for it? That does check that box, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right, well, she means that she would be on one team and Councilmember DeForest would be on the other team.
Yeah.
And then you would pick the other.
So it would be the mayor and Councilmember DeForest on the federal team.
No,
Not
they would
necessarily.
each be on one of the team.
Right.
So say, for example, Mayor Pro Tem and Mayor Stone would go to, say, feds, and I would go with you to the state.
Oh, that's what you were saying, was mayor and mayor pro tem going to the Fed side.
Or I would
Or
do state.
she would
do
go,
federal.
and I would
what I
do
thought.
She would
state,
do state,
whichever.
and somebody would join you federal.
Right.
Does that sound right?
So it could go either.
Yeah,
Okay.
But the mayor and mayor pro tem would take 2
Opposite.
spots.
Yeah.
They would take 2 spots, yes.
Opposite.
correct.
And then Lori and myself would take another spot, so there'd be one other spot, which was, I was, because we need to have a seasoned person as per our mayor.
So Lori would be a seasoned member, and Lisa would be a seasoned member, and then I would be an unseasoned member for the state, and we'd pick somebody else to be to do the other position.
Rochambeau?
Not it.
Not it.
Not it.
No, I'll do whatever you guys think. I like that idea, if that's okay with you, Mayor. Do you need a motion for that, or is this just discussion?
This is just discussion, yes. Madam City Clerk, do you want to proceed?
Yes, of course. And so we can recap that when it comes to appointment. Is that all right with you, Madam Mayor? I think I got it. Okay. So with that, we're going to just move on quickly to the city-affiliated organizations. And this is just a list of an overview of the various organizations that the city of Murrieta participates. A responsibility associated with being a representative is to report on activities and votes and positions that are taken. And of course, you would report that out during your governing body reports. And so I'm not going to name them all. They're all there for you at this point. I'm just asking, is there any interest or discussion on these city-affiliated agencies before I move on to the last 2?
Seeing none.
Perfect. Okay, so the last 2, they're miscellaneous. So one of them is the Student of the Month, and that one is an informal partnership with the school district, our Chamber of Commerce. It's been something that the city participated in over the years, and then we reaffirmed that in 2022. The second one is the Southwest Riverside County Elected Leaders Collaborative. That was a mouthful. So it is based on some recent meetings that collaborative group had. It is recommended that the City Council confirm the name change from Southwest Riverside County Women's Elected Leaders Collaborative to what you see there, which is the Southwest Riverside County Elected Leaders Collaborative. Looks like they just removed a word, it looks like, yeah. There's also been an update to the purpose of the collaborative group, which is redlined there for you. Hopefully you can see it. And additionally, the collaborative group intends to formally compose, and when they do that, that will actually come to council for approval. So with that, I'd like to know if there's any interest or discussion that would like to be had regarding these affiliations.
Glad to see they're not discriminating anymore.
Thank you for that. And so, so with that, are you okay? So I see no objections to the change of that. Is that what I'm hearing and seeing?
Yes, Madam City Clerk.
Okay, great.
Madam-
So with,
I do have a question, though.
Yes, ma'am.
you skipped over the ad hoc for the Town Square Park Amphitheater. And I was wondering, I know that we've already appointed a third-party vendor, but should there not be a follow-up ad hoc committee for moving forward on double checking and verifying and doing a overview of how they did? Should that not continue for at least another year?
So that is, of course, at the pleasure of the city council. The direction when it was composed was that upon adoption or entering into a contract with with a vendor, that it automatically sunsetted.
Okay.
So the second you all authorize that, I close that committee. And so, of course, you can bring it to the table and ask that you guys re-up it. But as of now, it's a terminated committee.
And when do I do that? Right now?
You can.
I would like
yes.
that to be
I'm not
reconsidered.
going to have you form it now,
No,
but you can express interest, and then I would have to bring that back.
Okay, I would like to have that brought back, please. Thank you.
I would like to see what the city manager thinks of that.
I would like a little more information of what the end goal would be.
Well, we did say that this is a pilot program and that the committee would meet again and review things that went right, things that went wrong, kind of an overview type of a committee. And that's kind of what I was hoping that we would do with this.
Madam City Attorney, would they be able to have a follow-up closing review type meeting?
So what I remember from the conversation was that it might be revisited as we get closer to the end of the contract, but that since it's an ad hoc committee for a specific purpose, when that purpose was done, it would be dissolved. And also, the council decided that as the policymakers, you shouldn't be that in the weeds while the contract's ongoing.
Okay. All right, that's fine. I just was curious. Thank you. You can take it off the table now.
Thank you for that. And so with that, we're going to actually, if it's all right with you, I'm going to go ahead and move forward on the appointments. So there's going to be a worksheet that's going to come up for all of you to view. And Ms. Kimberly Ramirez is going to go ahead and, place names in as you all have the discussion and, participate in whether or not you are interested. We have the subcommittee listed there, the purpose, which we just went over. The 2023 members are there, and then we are ready for any 2024 members, and the first one is the commission appointments.
I would be interested in commission appointments.
I'm happy to stay on that one.
Seeing no more for that? Okay, so we have Councilmember DeForest and Councilmember Holliday. Okay. We're going to move on to the homeless services. Currently, 2023 it was Mayor Stone and Councilmember Lavelle.
Madam City Clerk, I'd like to stay on homeless services, please.
I will stay, but happily let anyone else that's interested take the spot if they want it.
That's very kind of you, Councilmember Lavelle. So, seeing none.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Moving Mayor Stone and Councilmember Lavelle for homeless services. Moving on to the legislative work group, which we're going to have a little more of a discussion about. So what, tell me if I've got this. So we are looking to have the mayor and the mayor pro tem be basically the two leads on a state and a federal legislative.
No.
So I have the mayor affirming and I have the...
No, the leads would be the Mayor Stone and myself. And then with included in that would be Mayor Pro Tem choosing either federal or state. And I think that there's probably less a chance that we'll go back to DC this next year. And so
you want to focus on the state?
I would like to do federal because there is a less chance and let our mayor do our local and our state. I know she has a lot of connections there and is established at our state. So I would like to stay with federal if possible, and whoever wants to jump on that with me.
I'm also interested in a lesser chance.
And a lesser chance, John.
Mayor Pro Tem, which would you prefer?
I'll go state.
I think it's important, Mayor Pro Tem, that you go to state because of our interaction with them regularly. And if you are the mayor next year, I think it'll be very important.
I agree
So,
with you.
Yeah.
That
So I
looks
think we
good.
have it, Madam City Clerk. So we have 2 teams. We have the state team, including myself and Mayor Pro Tem Warren. We have the federal, which will be led by Councilwoman DeForest and Councilmember Lavelle.
Got it.
And I'm going to disagree with you, Councilwoman DeForest, because if you remember our conversations, there needs to be follow-up at the federal level, especially with those grants that are coming in the springtime. So if there's an opportunity for you to go to DC, I really highly recommend that you do that.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
Okay, so Kimberly was kind enough to place that on the spreadsheet, if you could see on your presentation. I just want to confirm that's okay. Maybe,
So
Madam
state.
City Manager?
Yes,
Can you see-
that looks
that's
great.
correct.
Okay, okay. Now we're going to move on to the city affiliated organizations. It's Animal Control Joint Powers Authority. Currently, it's Councilmember Lavelle, who is the delegate, and the alternate is Councilwoman DeForest.
I like that one, that's okay.
Yeah, I'll stay your alternate then.
Yeah.
Although I don't think you ever missed.
No, I didn't. I chaired my
Maybe you
second
could
meeting.
miss. Maybe you could miss one.
Yeah. I'm not going to miss. It's all, I love animals.
Okay, any other interest? Seeing none? I'm going to go on to the City Selection Committee for LAFCO. It's currently Councilmember Holliday and Councilmember DeForest.
I'm happy to stay on that one.
Thank you, sir.
I will as well, since Councilmember Holliday was so amazing. I didn't ever have to do anything.
I never went.
You never went either, so okay, well, that's a good one.
There was no meetings. It's
Okay,
as needed.
as needed. Well, it's not needed right now, so let's
They
stay on
didn't
that,
need us.
yes.
Okay. Any more interest? Seeing none. So League of California Cities. Currently, it was in 2023, my apologies, it was Mayor Stone and Mayor Pro Tem Warren.
Do you want to stay as?
Yeah,
delegate?
I'll stay.
So
as-
I'll stay as their alternate.
Any other interest? Seeing none, we're going to go to RCA. It was Mayor Stone and Councilmember Holliday as
And
the alternate.
I am removing myself. I will be the alternate.
I would be happy to be the delegate.
What's a little flip?
That's a good flip.
Okay, any other interest? Seeing none? Great, we're going to go to RCHCA, Riverside County Habitat Conservation Agency.
I'll stay on that.
You okay, Councilmember DeForest?
You can remove me.
Okay. So I'm looking for an alternate to RCHCA.
I'll take that. Lavelle.
Thank you, Councilmember Lavelle. Okay, we're going to move on to RCTC.
I'd like to stay on, please, as the delegate.
Received? And we had Councilmember Holliday was the alternate in 2023.
Happy to give that to someone else if they want it.
I'll take it.
Although I will say that Councilmember Warren never missed a meeting.
I'll be her alternate.
Okay, so I have MPT and Mayor as the alternate.
We just flipped ourselves, shouldn't we?
Okay, and then RTA, it was DeForest and Warren.
That destroys an entire day for me. And so I would like to move myself off of that,
If nobody wants it, I'll take the delegate.
which I would appreciate Mayor Pro Tem, because I think she was the delegate, because she wanted the cookies.
Now, you don't have to tell everybody
I'm
my
sorry, I'm sorry.
secrets.
I guess I owe a few more cookies too, so I appreciate you being there for me.
And can I get an alternate, Mayor?
I'll do
if
that.
you'd like to.
I'll be the alternate.
Okay, and SCAG, Southern California Association of Governments, Councilmember Lavelle and Mayor Stone.
It's my favorite acronym. I'll stay.
And I'll stay as well.
Okay. And we're going to move on to WRCOG.
I would like to do WRCOG this year.
I will be your alternate.
Thank
No one else wants it.
Thank God.
So I have Councilmember DeForest as a delegate and the alternate is Councilmember Holliday. Is that correct? Yes, okay. And then we'll move on to the Southwest Riverside County Women's Elected Leaders Collaborative.
Which is now changed names, right?
Did I skip something?
Persons.
Oh, yes, sorry, my apologies. Southwest Riverside County Elected Leaders Collaborative. It was,
I'd like to be the delegate on that.
so Stone.
And I'll remove
The
myself
third
from that.
Thursday of every other month.
RTA, I can't.
So since this is a legislative elected without the female, and our goal is traffic and transportation, do you want to be my alternate?
Sure.
Actually, Madam City Clerk, we are actually appointing 2 people per city to be part of this collaborative. So it's not the delegate and the alternate, it is actually
2 appointed.
2 appointees.
Okay.
2 delegates.
When's the meeting?
It's the third, I mean, it's the third,
6 a.m.?
no, the third Thursday every other month
5:30 a.m.
Thursday.
at
what time?
noon. It's lunch.
He'll be
I
awake.
can do noon. All right,
You can do noon.
I can do noon.
Yeah, he's awake by then. You want to do it?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Tell her.
So the 2 members will be Mayor Stone and Councilmember Holliday.
Yes.
Okay, and no alternate. Okay. And Student of the Month, of course, it'll be Mayor Stone, and then that's actually just a monthly rotation. So I don't need to have you all appoint, if that's okay.
That was always so difficult. It
Oh.
kind of goes at the same time as the breakfast.
I know.
So
What are you gonna do
I'm-
about that?
I thought maybe the breakfast would move or student of the month would possibly move, but I haven't heard anything that it was going to move. So,
Well, and then this month, it's this Thursday, the student of the month, and the breakfast was last Thursday.
yeah, so did it move?
No, I think it's just,
It just,
it worked out that way.
I had,
No, I think that I think
Are
that
they-
the Care Solis and, is it Ivan? Ivan, you're in Care Solis is at the next chamber breakfast? Oh,
Yeah,
it's
but
in
that's
February.
Yeah, but
Okay.
for January, student of the month is this Thursday.
I
We'll
have
figure
a
that
meeting
out.
with the superintendent.
Okay,
And so
fantastic.
we'll try and
Perfect. Okay,
get
thank you.
somebody to move.
So do 2 council members typically attend that?
No, just one.
It's just the mayor and one other council member, and it's a rotation.
But if more than one wants to attend, Madam City Attorney, more than one council member can attend, they just can't have a discussion, obviously, correct?
But then the committee's paying for their breakfast.
Oh,
So there is we don't pay to attend, we're there as city officials.
Got
So
it.
that's why I think they just have one person attend
okay.
from
Only
one of
because
us.
it's such a rewarding, Student of the Month is so touching and so rewarding that, if many of our council members can attend, that would be fantastic. Listen, I'll be more than happy to pay for my own breakfast, I don't care. But I just think it'd be nice if they want to attend, that they can.
Cool, thank you.
it is one of the most uplifting
is.
events.
Yeah.
It
It
truly is. And to see those kids strive, it's amazing.
Yes.
So.
Well, if it rotated monthly, never received a notification
Me neither.
I
that I
didn't
was
know.
invited.
I believe the rotation was as an alternate. Sorry, I'm looking at the clerk. I think typically the mayor is the primary, and then we rotate the alternates if somebody needs to fill in.
Okay.
So that's probably, it didn't get to you.
And Madam City Manager, is it possible maybe that the Student of the Month is removed from this per se for appointments, and it could just be something that's on the council's calendars because it's informal? Is that something that we can discuss?
If the council so desires.
Well,
And the city attorney is saying yes, that's.
Sounds good to me.
okay, but please do know that that we need one person to be the designated representative because they speak.
It would be the
The
mayor.
mayor.
Yeah, okay,
would
so
be the
you
mayor.
you will speak.
And it would be up to you to find someone to fill in if you couldn't.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Is that fair? And I can work with the city manager on.
thank you.
Rosa will probably handle that. Let's be honest.
So, Madam City Clerk, are there any public comments regarding this discussion item?
Seeing none.
Okay. Council members, any discussion? I guess it would help if I went to my meeting. Oh, okay, seeing none. Oh, they've already called for the motion, and we got a second. Please vote. Council's quick tonight. You want to go home?
to the e-meeting before.
Yeah.
You guys are fast. Motion carries unanimously 5-0.
Great. Okay, moving on to governing body announcements. Our governing body announcements is the opportunity for the city council to provide miscellaneous reports and announcements. Announcements should not exceed 2 minutes, and the city clerk will use the computerized timer. Okay, and I don't see my little thing here, so I'm going to move on to what it says. We'll move on to Councilmember DeForest.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My governing board announcements are as followed. I was honored to attend a border tour with Congressman Darrell Issa. I think it's vital that everyone knows what's going on our borders. Our borders are wide open, and American immigration laws are truly essentially null and void. 7 million illegals have crossed into our country, unprecedented children. Human trafficking has occurred, and America truly right now is suffering the deadliest drug crisis in our history. It was it was amazing to see what was going on there. People were walking around the wall, and there was nothing that was done. They are not stopping anyone. It's wide open, and our Border Patrol has been reduced to actually an Uber driver to take them to processing and then to just take them to whatever destination address they have. So it was very eye-opening, and I think that definitely even a humanitarian piece needs to be done. There is, once they make it across the borders, we talked to a husband and a wife that had traveled for 30 days from Guatemala, and they were trying to get to Ohio. So I don't know the story to get how they got to Tijuana to make it through, but we were at the Otay Mesa border. So it was very interesting. We met at Brown Field. We went up and down, met with Border Patrol. Congressman Issa was very forthcoming on the information that he was giving us. And I did take a picture with Steve Garvey, who I asked my children if they knew who he was, being a Dodger fan, and they had no idea. So he was a very nice man and very interested in what was going on as well. So it was incredible to actually get to take that tour. And I know Congressman Issa will reach out to many of us as well, because I said that our council would be very interested in making that tour as well. On January 5th, I attended the Murrieta Temecula group at Wilson Creek, and then I attended the 1-year anniversary of the Inda Watch for Deputy Darnell Calhoun at the Lake Elsinore Sheriff Station. It was a touching movement where the Calhoun and the Brown family got to speak. They spoke of happy things about Darnell, and it was the first time that I actually got to hear Vanessa speak about her and the boys, and it was heartfelt. It was a beautiful tribute to a life well lived, but cut off way too short. And Murrieta has a new 100-year-old resident. I want to say happy birthday to Merle Wood, and I know that I think our fire department was there saying happy birthday to her as well, and I apologize for not making it to her birthday party, as the Calhoun event went long and was very emotional, especially since I'm married to a Riverside sheriff. So Also, I'd just like to say, I know all of the council would like to say well wishes to Connie McConnell. She broke her foot as I was standing next to her in the hallway at our goal setting. So I found out about that last night, so I know we're all sending her well wishes and a speedy recovery. She did say she still could drive, so I'm sure at market night she'll be in that golf cart cruising around. So thank you so much, Mayor and fellow council. That ends my governing board report.
Great, thank you, Councilmember DeForest. Councilmember Lavelle.
Thank you, Mayor. I have two items, two announcements. The first one was on the 4th. I attended the Professional Women's Roundtable at the Mexico Cafe in Temecula. I should have known by the title of the event that I would be one of the only men in the room of about 60 women. The other man was James Stu from Temecula. So I got to witness Lori say some amazing things about our city and our area and just kind of see what was going on, and a nice start to the new year. And then the second one, I went to last Friday, I went to the grand opening of the California Endocrine Center on Technology Drive. If you guys don't know, endocrinology is one of the very few specialties that does not exist in large numbers. I think there's 3 other doctors for the whole southwest portion of the area. Metabolic health, they get really granular into helping people with some serious conditions. So this was really cool to see. This guy, he used to work, and I believe is still affiliated with the National Institute of Health. And I cannot pronounce his last name, but it's a great service that we have not had in the city yet, or as close to the city as we can get. So this is a great addition. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilmember Lavelle. Councilmember Holliday.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The only thing I have on my announcements is something that Councilmember DeForest chose not to talk about, which I thought was an amazing thing. I was thinking I was just going to say, yeah, I was there, but she is kind of spearheading a group that is advocating to bring a 4-year university to our region, whether it be in Murrieta, Temecula, Menifee, somewhere in this region. As she puts it, we need to stop the brain drain. And how many people were there?
45, 50?
About 45 people, representatives from all the cities in the surrounding area, schools. I think somebody there from Cal State San Marcos? They were at the first one.
They were at the first one. Mm-hmm.
But they've been in touch. So we had a lot of good support there. WR Cog was mentioned at that meeting. I brought it up at their goal-setting session. I mentioned it, that you're putting that group together and to be on the lookout for what you have forthcoming. It's a great need, and it's a great effort that you started, and I support it 100%.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you for attending every meeting we've had, too, so I appreciate that.
Great, thank you, Councilmember Holliday. Mayor Pro Tem Warren.
Thank you, Mayor Stone. I, too, was at the meeting with the Professional Women's Roundtable, and I was in the majority. And I want to tell you that our mayor hit it out of the park. She was outstanding. She was funny. She was spot on. She did a fabulous job representing our wonderful city. And Lori, you just did it with grace and dignity and just professionalism. Was well done. I was really excited. I have a couple of pictures of her with the board, the new board for the PWR, and with Stu from the new mayor of Temecula, and then Lori giving her presentation. She was asked some pretty interesting questions, and she was able to handle them all with grace and poise. So I was very proud of you. It was very well done. The next item that I attended, I have a quarterly meeting with the famous, the one, the only, Mr. Agajanian for Economic Development. It's a meeting I look forward to every quarter, and I got to learn a lot about what's going on. Sorry I can't tell you about it, but it was a great meeting. And the last, I also attended on January 8th, the Murrieta Wildomar Chamber of Commerce Mixer at 8-Bit Brewery Company. If you haven't been there, fabulous location, fabulous place, and the tater tots are out of this world. I won't say anything about the alcohol, because of course I didn't have any. Yeah, that's not so true.
Look at the look on
I know
Ivan's
the look
face.
on Ivan's face. Anyway, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Warren. Okay, my governing body announcements. There we go. So I gave the State of the City address to the Professional Women's Roundtable, and thank you to my colleagues that were there to support me. And then next, I attended the chamber mixer as well, and I was really impressed with 8-bit. Yeah, I didn't have a tater tot though, but it was really, it was very well, it was very well attended. And then I represented the entire city council and spoke at the Europa Village, the Vienza Winery grand opening. And I made it very clear that you had to drive through Murrieta in order to get to the Vienza Winery. It's a beautiful winery. Dan Stevenson and his 200 investors have done just an amazing job. I believe that's it for me. Okay, moving on to council member requests to add items for future agendas. Now is the time for council members to request to add items to future agendas. There will be no discussion on the requests. A brief explanation of the request may be given. The merit of the item being requested may not be discussed or debated. Are there any requests from my fellow colleagues? I have a request. I would like to bring back a discussion for a potential workshop for e-bikes.
Pardon me, Mayor,
Yes.
but as I recall, the Supervisor Washington is doing an e-bike workshop. Could we maybe piggyback with him?
He has suggested that to me, and I know that Temecula is, and while he's doing a county-wide, he has discussed it. There has been nothing concrete. This is something that I had talked to our city manager many, many months ago in a very brief conversation, and the amount of emails and phone calls that I'm getting with regards to the gang, they're actually referred to as gangs, the unruly of the e-bikes that are happening in our market nights. I know John Lavelle has had issues. I know Alan Long has had issues on his property. And if Supervisor Washington is going to do a proposed workshop, that's fine. But we have our own needs here. And so I would like to bring this back.
Sorry, Mayor, I no longer have a request to speak button, so.
Yeah, I don't either.
Don't mean to jump in. So the police department has been working with the school district on a pretty extensive e-bike program. Maybe we could have a presentation on that at the next city council meeting and give all of you an update on what that looks like. I know they're working on putting that together, but it would involve requiring students who have e-bikes to sit through mandatory training to receive a license on their bike to be able to take it onto school grounds, which I basically just gave away his program. But we could have a presentation at the next meeting with some of the background information, if that was fine.
I would second that request and love to see that as well.
Yes.
Third.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you. Are there any other requests to add future agenda items from my colleagues? Seeing none? Okay. Before we adjourn tonight, I would like to adjourn with my fellow colleagues in this meeting in memory of Rosie Diaz. Rosie Diaz entered this world on October 12, 1977 in Leon, Jito, Mexico, born to Jose David and Ophelia Diaz. She was the youngest of 10 children with one sibling preceding her in death. In 1986, the Diaz family embarked on a new chapter, relocating to Whittier, California, where Rosie's educational journey began in the South Whittier School District, followed by Whittier Union High School District and Cerritos College. It was here that Rosie not only acquired a knowledge, but also forged the path that would lead to her fulfilling a career in real estate, a profession she cherished deeply. Rosie's dedication and passion for her work were evident as she ascended the ranks to become a successful underwriting manager. Eventually, she and her family found their home in Murrieta, California, where Rosie continued to flourish in her career and, more importantly, in her role as a devoted wife and mother. Family was the core of Rosie's being. Her infectious laughter, perpetual smile, and unwavering support for her 3 children, Josh, Nathan, and Lexi, were the cornerstones of her life. Rosie was not just a spectator in her children's youth sport. She was their biggest cheerleader, embodying the essence of love and encouragement. Beyond her familiar roles, Rosie was an avid runner, finding solace, joy in the outdoors. She participated in numerous local running events, even conquered a few marathons over the years. Rosie's zest for life is evident in her every step, served as an inspiration to all who knew her. Rosie Diaz was more than a sister, an aunt, a nina, and friend. She was a beacon of kindness, always putting the needs of others before her own. To know Rosie was to love her, and to genuinely caring nature left an indelible mark on all fortunate enough to cross her path. Tragically, on the morning of January 4th, 2024, Rosie's vibrant journey abruptly cut short while doing what she loved most, was running. Rosie is survived by her loving husband, Omar, and her 3 cherished children, Josh, Nathan, and Lexi. Again, our sincere condolences. God bless, and this meeting's adjourned.